It's Thursday, September 14th, 2023, and I am so exhausted. I've had a pretty good week overall, but harvest time just seems to be getting more overwhelming every year. It's my least favorite part of the year. I like to get the honey in, because that's kind of where a lot of the income comes from. But that's it. I'll try to catch up on this week. Essentially this week I managed to I don't even remember what I did this week. I managed to feed and treat my entire apiary, both the home yard here and the out yard. Now, I had actually fed these two rows previously, so they're now on their second pail, and typically that's about all they'll take is two of those 2.5 gallon pails. But everybody else, the next row and all the nukes and everything, they're still on their first container. I say container because some are gallon pails and some are 1/2 gallon jars. The jars are smaller, of course, but I really like to be able to see at a glance where they're at with that jar. And for treatments, really, I've just done Apivar, 2 strips in the big colonies and then 1 in the nukes. Instructions are 1 strip per 5 frames of bees, and so that works out just about right for a 6 frame nuke for 1 strip. I had a whole pile of pollen patties ready to go, but in inspecting these hives, I realized that there's frames upon frames of pollen in there, so I didn't put any patties on. I think they'll be fine. The nukes I gave a pound because they're newer and some of them are actually farther behind than others. So they cleaned it right up though. They cleaned that right up. You can see, I think it's here. That's the pallet hive. So they got a patty and a pail. Actually, I think I put 2 patties on there, so that's 2 pounds and a pail, because they would have almost no resources on board either. We'll see. I don't really expect them to survive because they've got a tough go here. They're very far behind. The bees are becoming a pain. Because they're on you. They're buzzing around everywhere. They're frantic. They can't find resources. It's turned into a desert. Full on dearth here. Robbing. You leave anything open, whether it be syrup or comb or a hive or a honey box or whatever. They are on it right now, and I won't leave you alone. So I think maybe I'll just I'll walk you around. Oh, besides the feeding and treating that I've done, it's pretty much been extracting. I had to run to Winnipeg on Tuesday at our bee club meeting, which was a lot of fun. Big treat. We had a presentation by Lloyd Harris at our bee club, and he talked about the winter cluster and the dynamics around the bee survivorship, what you can expect from the summer and fall clusters, and how to go into winter with better understanding of what goes on there. So yeah, let's take a little walk around. I don't have any other video for you this week, so I'll just try to maybe catch up on a few things, because it's just been so hectic and I'm so utterly exhausted. I just couldn't couldn't get it together. Every time I wanted to take a video, I either had my camera, not my microphone, or I had my microphone, not my camera. I came out yesterday to do something, and I had my camera and my microphone, but I didn't have the little cable to hook them together. So this is what happens when your brain gets so exhausted too. So let's go take a little walk around. So this is a good example of the difference, that jar and that pail make, as far as just a visual on how they're doing with it. For the pail, obviously you need to come and give it a little lift test. And they're fairly light too, so they seem to blow away a little bit easier than the jars. The jars will tip over, but not real easily. So I don't have a lot of trouble with that. I've only had the blow over one time, spring of 22. So I've culled out everything that didn't have a queen, and so this center one didn't have a queen. This just says explanation. This is the position where my cell builder was, my queenless cell builder for raising queens. And when I was done with that, what I had was a very, very full hive of bees, no queen. So the last round of grafting, and that was Carrie's graft, round 9, I just put a queen cell in. I transferred all those frames and bees to these 6 frame boxes and put a queen cell in each one. This one didn't work out. She didn't mate and didn't lay. These 2 were going strong. So that's really nice. The Nuke row is thinning out. I shouldn't speak negatively of them, because I don't have enough experience with different suppliers of queens. But I'm not impressed with these Carpathian queens. I lose a lot of them. I've lost Konas. I had a Saskatraz this spring, and she didn't last more than a couple of weeks. So I don't think I'm going to buy those again. I'll just stick with Konas. I have bought those before. They seem to work out well. So you can see the culls that I've taken out here. I've just tipped up on the end there. Mostly laziness, because I'm so exhausted. And the bees in the apiary just robbed them out. And that's the end of them. So you can kind of see the progress here. How the pail, you can count the pails and see that there's a number of nukes going, but there's still a lot of mortality here. So I just quickly counted 23, and I think I started with 30. So that's how that worked out. Now from this vantage, I can see some polyhives here. Here's a couple. There's another one that you can't see. It's way over here. I'm getting a jump on the zombies for next year. They were just some out of date queens that were actually doing pretty good. So I thought, you know what, I'll stick them in a poly box, and sure, I'm wasting some syrup on them, but if they make summer, then they might be a valuable resource. This, I was going to say this always makes me proud, but the part about this that doesn't make me proud is the mess of equipment. I really need to get this cleaned up. And what makes me proud is all the nukes, and there's about 100 here. And you can see the jars. I can see this jar here is empty, so they need to be refilled. I don't think I'll get that done today. But anyway, they need to take 6 of those jars. So I really should fill it today. I can't imagine doing that. I'm so exhausted. So looking at this mess of equipment here, I really need a new system. I need a new system for this. And what I need is to be transferring bees a whole lot less. You saw me transferring bees a lot this summer, and I think that's a big waste of time. I need to figure out a system that's going to... The bees are stinging me. I just, just minding my own business here. So I need a system that's going to, start the nukes in the boxes they're going to stay in, and save me a whole whack of work. I'm not appreciated here, so let's jump the fence and go look at the pallet hive. Looks like I got more than one empty jar. They may not take as much feed as they normally would, because we actually had a late flow, and there's a lot of honey in those hives. Here's the pallet hive. It took a while to get them to settle in. They were bearding under that pallet for the longest time. I finally got them set up so that they marched in, and they seem to be okay now. There's pollen coming in. That's just incredible. Not a little bit either. There's quite a bit of pollen coming in. Huh. 14th of September. So, I hope they're going to make good use of that pail. They're going to get 2 of those, so 5 gallons of syrup. And then once, it'll be a month from now, once flight is kind of come to an end due to cooler temperatures, then I'll just pick them up and I'm going to move them over into the apiary. I may set them on a 2-way pallet. It'll come off of that bottom board, transfer onto a pallet pretty easily. You can see that long plastic hose in the grass. It's 100 feet of that 1-inch hose, and I have a gas nozzle thing on the end of it. You see that gas nozzle laying in the grass there. Tell you, that's the way to serve syrup. I start the pump, and I walk around and I fill the pails right at the hive. I don't go pick up the pails and bring them back to the tank and all that kind of stuff. So that really, really helps speed things up, and not as many steps either. People are often asking about this syrup system, and so I'll talk about it a little bit here again today. The first thing I'll tell you is, if you're going to do this, considering pumps, there's 2 things. It's very easy to underestimate the power it takes to pump 2-to-1 syrup. It takes a lot of power. It's quite viscous, especially if you've got a cool morning or something. It takes a lot of power. And also, this is not a Honda pump. This is a Power Fist pump. So the whole product is a Power Fist, but it employs a Honda motor. And I had a generic Chinese motor power fist pump, and I wouldn't wish that thing on my worst enemy. Well, I might, but you get what I'm saying. This Honda motor is such a dream to use. You know, one thing about when you pull the ripcord on an engine, often you have to get your entire body behind it and just really lean into it and pull it. It's off, so it won't start, but to show you how easy this is to pull. And if I turn it on, it would start with that. I'll prove it. So to be able to pull, you know, an engine like that with your arm and not have to just get your entire body behind it, it is such a treat. Not only is it easy to pull, but it starts on the first or second pull every time. The system leaks a lot, so I have a rework. I bought some plumbing pieces the other day, and I have a rework in mind here. So I just have to find a day when I'm not so exhausted, come and do that. But I'll give you a little bit more close up of how this is put together. It's pretty straightforward, but okay. So it just hooks up to the main outlet on the bottom of the IBC tote. I had a problem with my valve, and it wasn't the valve, it was the coupler. So I had to change this, and I can't remember what the guy called this thing, but it's just a 2-inch rubber coupler with hose clamps. I wasn't convinced that was going to work, but it does. He said that they've used that solution before, because this outlet is threaded, but it's not National Pipe thread. It's some other thing. It's a very coarse thread, so not something that's easy to adapt to. So I've got a nice PVC valve here. You know, you want to remember that when you mix this syrup, you got this tank full of syrup here. This is about $1,100 worth of sugar in there. So something happens here that can get expensive pretty fast. I like these cam lock couplers. They're very expensive, but it allows me to connect and disconnect quickly. I've got one here and I've got one on the pump, so this piece can come right off, frees up the tank, frees up the pumps for storage and transport and whatnot. So the pump pulls the syrup or water if you're just starting to mix and shoots it out this way. I've got another cam lock here, and then it goes up here, and it just goes in the top of the tank. I know you can't see that in the frame. It just goes in the top of the tank, and there's a pipe that comes down inside and exits at a 45 there. It's about this high, and it doesn't go straight along the wall. It cants in a little bit, just so I don't get a dead spot in the center with the agitation. That seems to work really well. It's not perfect, nothing's perfect. So that works really well. And then there's a T here, as you can see, and that's where my serving hose goes to. So what I need to do is this valve is closed now, but when I'm serving, I'll run with this valve open a little. I can never remember which way these go. I'll run with that open a little and restrict it until I get the pressure that I'm looking for in my serving hose. I don't want to just shut it off completely, because then things just start to leak and could blow the fittings out of the hose and whatnot. And another valve here just so that I can shut this off. I've got a cam lock on this end as well, so if I need to take this hose off, I can shut this hose off with this valve. And that's pretty much it. There was an addition I made this year. I think it was 2 years ago. It might have been last year. I employed this little water meter here, and this came from an idea that Sawmill Charlie Put that on his YouTube channel. It's a cheap little water meter you can get on Amazon. And but I added this year a pipe that goes up and just in the top of the tank. There's nothing inside, it just dumps in the top of the tank. And this couples up, it's got a small cam lock, couples up to my garden hose. I've shoved grass in it so the bees don't climb up in there and try and get the syrup through that little hose, because they will, and then your tank gets full of dead bees and hornets and wasps too, so you know that's okay. Yeah, so I really like this system. It works really well for me. I'll normally mix 3 of these totes in a season. I'll mix the first one and fill some of my pails. I'll mix the second one and finish off, and I'll mix the third one, and that will pretty well be enough to finish my feeding for the year. You can see there's about this much in it, which is 250 liters. This is 75 gallons, it says, so it's not quite 75 gallons. It's maybe 50, 60 gallons in there. We're kind of looking at the sun, so I'll give you a closer look at that little water meter. The little device is in there, and it's in a waterproof case. You need to open it up to change the battery in it. It doesn't seem to go through battery very fast. So liters per minute. This is 460. That's the last time I filled it. I put 460 liters in it. So anyway, and it'll time out, shut off by itself. So that's kind of the state of the apiary. And the state of the beekeeper too. Not good. Very tired, very exhausted, as I said. And you know, we're just waiting for the next pail, and then I'll come and fill everything again. Get everybody fed for winter. It's always a kind of a race to get the syrup in them before the weather breaks, and we can't get any more syrup in them. I'm sorry for not much of a video this week. Just didn't come together. I apologize. Hopefully next week we'll have something a little more interesting maybe. The beekeeping is done, so I'm not sure what else I could show you. It's way too hot and congested and noisy in the honey house to really do anything in there. So I know some people are probably thinking, well, why don't you show extracting? I don't think so. It's just all work. It's just all work. So I really appreciate you watching, even though this is kind of a cop-out video, I suppose. Tomorrow's Friday, and I need to go to Winnipeg again. Take some honey for packing, etc. Customer deliveries, and then back, and I'll do another few rounds of extracting when I get home, probably. And so anyway, thanks for watching this, and have a great weekend. Enjoy your bees, stay safe, and have fun. Just then I had a bee land on the back of my head, start like she was gonna sting me. I gotta go.